The room is mostly dark. Only the blue pulse of a studio monitor breaks it, steady, mechanical, like a vein keeping time. A microphone glints under the light. Off camera, a producer counts down in a whisper. On camera, a man exhales and begins. His voice, calm but electric, does not open with inflation or crime or the next election. It begins with Gaza. With the question no one in his circle was supposed to ask aloud: what if America treated Israel like any other country? The camera inhales, the country exhales. For half a century, the Republican love affair with Israel was scripture. There was no question mark after the word ally. But somewhere between the roar of drone footage and the soft, wet sound of a mother pulling her child from rubble, the rhythm changed. Pollsters started catching it in the data, a slow 15-point drift among younger Republicans away from unqualified support. A generational tremor. What had been a commandment is now a question. The change hums through unexpected mouths. Thomas Massey, a libertarian from Kentucky, tells anyone who'll listen that America should not bankroll another nation's wars. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the firebrand of the fringe, stands before cameras and uses the forbidden word genocide to describe Gaza. Candace Owens, once the darling of pro-Israel conservatism, calls the bombings a holocaust on Palestinian children. These are not left-wing doves. They are the movement's own creation, turning back toward it, asking where the line between loyalty and blindness actually lies. And then there is the studio prophet of cable rebellion. Tucker Carlson looks into the lens and, with that unhurried tone of rural certainty, calls Christian Zionism a brain virus. He presses senators about AIPAC's influence, about foreign registration laws, about why ally has become the same word as client. His followers do not hear anti-Semitism, they hear independence. For the first time, the right's media class makes dissent sound patriotic. Megyn Kelly treads the line between conviction and calculation. One night on Piers Morgan Uncensored, she warns that Israel is losing its moral reputation. The next, she insists that Israel should be disproportionate. She is the contradiction personified, an anchor trying to keep one foot on the dock while the ship drifts away. Then there was Charlie Kirk. Months before his assassination, a letter surfaced in which he warned Benjamin Netanyahu that Israel was getting crushed on American social media over the words apartheid and genocide. It wasn't a moral plea. It was campaign math. But the letter's tremor still carried through the movement like an aftershock, a recognition that the old PR hymns were no longer working. Beneath all of it, the moral gravity of Gaza refuses to lift. Entire neighborhoods flattened, famine creeping through the camps. By autumn, United Nations monitors estimate more than 20,000 civilians dead. In the dry voice of briefings, it sounds bureaucratic. In life, it's the smell of concrete dust on a mother's hands as she digs for what is left of her kitchen. A child lifts a plastic bottle to catch rain because the pipes have forgotten water. Even the right-wing audiences that once looked away cannot unsee what their screens now show them nightly. This is not a sudden awakening of conscience. It is something rougher, more American, a collision between moral instinct and political fatigue. Steve Bannon calls Israel a protectorate, railing that America is being used like a rented car. His followers cheer, not for Gaza, but for the idea that no foreign power, ally or not, should draft their sons or their taxes into endless war. Still, the machinery of the old order grinds on. Donors keep the checks flowing. Lobbyists draft new bills to punish boycotts and protect the phrase special relationship. Party elders warn that stepping out of line invites financial extinction. It is a system designed to outlive emotion. Yet underneath the marble calm of Capitol Hill, hairline cracks widen each week. Politics always moves slower than the human heart. What travels faster is empathy. The killing of journalists, the starvation of families, the images of children sleeping between the ruins, each clip cuts through ideology like shrapnel. Suddenly, the moral arithmetic shifts. People who once nodded at every Pentagon talking point start whispering that something feels off, that perhaps the flag and the cross were never meant to bless siege engines. The new dissent is messy, contradictory, sometimes cynical. But every movement begins that way, with confusion, not clarity. It starts as a sound before it becomes a stance. And right now, in the echo chambers of conservative America, you can hear that sound forming, a question without a script. The measure of a nation, the broadcaster says, is not its slogans, but the lives it refuses to discard. The line lands like a benediction and a dare, because this is no longer just about Israel or Gaza or who sits in the Oval Office. It's about whether America can still look at itself in the mirror without averting its gaze. Whether loyalty to a government halfway around the world can outweigh the sight of children carried out of rubble. Whether, after all the footage and the noise, there remains a conscience beneath the slogans. The camera inhales, we exhale. Morning light creeps across the city. Somewhere a church bell rings. The question lingers in the air like smoke. What kind of country will America decide to be, and whose story will it finally be brave enough to tell? If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe for the next chapter. Keep the light on.